Welcome to the Purpose and Profit Club podcast for nonprofit leaders, mission-driven creatives, and social entrepreneurs. Get ready to stop dreaming and start doing. Here, ideas become action. We prioritize purpose and profit. You ready? Let's go. All right. Welcome, Manu, to the Purpose and Profit Club podcast. I'm so excited to have you here. I want you to take a moment and introduce yourself to my audience.
Thanks for having me, Christina. I'm excited too. So I'm Manu, founder of your social team. And the whole goal of my business is helping entrepreneurs and small businesses to market themselves, with confidence and effectively using social, specifically Instagram right now is our main focus. And we also create Canva templates for Instagram.
Love that. So I'm not going to make you go back to your full entrepreneurship story, but I will say, since I know you in real life, I know a tiny bit, and there's a tiny bit I do want you to tell my audience, which is you shifted from the corporate world and then decided to start your entrepreneurship journey. And one of the things that you've said when you've told that story before is some flavor of I think it started like an in-person social media workshop. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that you've said before is I emailed everybody about this workshop. And you were like, I told everybody. I don't remember if it was email or LinkedIn or text or phone, but basically the point is you said, I told everybody this thing was happening. And I just want to just pause there and go like, why did you do that? Tell me about that.
Yeah. So just going back a little bit too, because it's not like I decided I'm like, I'm going to be this entrepreneur. It was never what I wanted to do. I worked for Cartoon Network for 15 years and loved it. After that, I worked at a local startup for a couple more years. And I was laid off. And then I was like, I had a 1-year-old at the time and I was looking at jobs out there and I'm like, this is not for me right now. I'm in my 40s, I was like 39, I think. But I was like, this is, I don't want to travel. I have a 1-year-old. I've done this. I've traveled. I had a long career. And just everything I was seeing out there, I didn't really think, it was a lot of like looking for a unicorn. I'm like, nope. So I think it was just the best option for me in that time. So not to say it was glamorous or easy. No, I needed work. So I have in the 2 jobs that I had for the past 17 years before starting my business, I met everybody in this town. Like I met so many people, but in my Cartoon Network job, we're working mostly outside, like for, it was like worldwide, mostly focusing on Latin America. So a lot of my contacts weren't in town. But then on my startup job, they're doing like work with all the startups in town. I work for King of Pops.
Very grassroots, very like community. Yeah.
Well, we're selling popsicle to every single event for all the major corporations here, the Braves, the Delta, Coca-Cola, even Turner.
Yeah.
And then working with all the smaller business in little collaborations and things like that. So I met a lot of people in the city. And then when it was time to start my business, I'm like, great. I started this Instagram account. Like soon after I named it Your Social Team. And I'm like, people don't know I'm here and this is here. They have no idea. They know me. I think they understand my experience, but they don't know I'm here and this is me. So what I did is I decided to do this one workshop because everybody wanted to pick my brain about Instagram, about social media. It was the time that brands were like, I guess we need to be on Instagram. And they were not yet in 2017, And I was like, well, when they pick my brain, it's not working for either of us because they take me to lunch, they buy me lunch, they get very little out of it. They have to ask me other things just to be polite. And I'm not giving them the value and I'm wasting my time too. It's wonderful to go to lunch with people, but you can't have that schedule and that be what you do every day, right? So that's when I decided to do this, event. And then I'm like, from the event, maybe I can get a management client and I can have something bigger, but I can just get started. And I didn't even have a website. I didn't have anything. So I literally went and I contact people where I was connected to them, whether it was my personal Facebook or I had their email or LinkedIn. I just messaged everybody that I knew that had a small business. And I'm like, hey, I'm doing this for a small business. Obviously, no pressure. But if you have anyone that you think would benefit from that, because I've been seeing a lot of people asking questions about social and about Instagram and wanting to do a better job, blah, blah, blah. So I literally messaged like 200 people probably in like a span of a few weeks. And I had a first event. I only wanted like 40 seats on that event. And I sold it out because, I reached everybody. And actually, my daughter, who's 7 now, which you met, she just did her first fundraiser in school. for the
Nice.
American Heart Association. So what I told her, I'm like, I'm not going to be the mom that, just posted on my Instagram story and even on
That
the
would be
business
too
one.
easy. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like even on the business one that had all these tons of people. First, I don't even want like my daughter's name and where she studies. Every like I don't
Sure.
even go to
Yeah.
school everywhere. But also like she's learning nothing out of this. So I actually sat with her. I brought her here to the office, and I'm like, "Here's your strategy. This is what I did." So I told her to do the exact thing I did. I'm like, every adult that you're comfortable with, you're gonna call them.
Oh
So
my
she actually
God. It's such
called.
a good lesson.
She called all of them on the phone. She raised like I think $1,000 in like 2 weeks, and she could have done more and she just didn't do as many phone calls. But she called everybody that she knew. I told her that the moms from her school wouldn't work because they'd be working on their own fundraisers. And she just
Exactly.
family, friends, and adults that she knew. She called them all, explained what it was for. And each time we were working on her pitch, I'm like, oh, so you didn't tell them what it's for before you asked for the money. So she had this really cute pitch, and she was like, you can give a very little or medium or a lot.
I love her.
And I thought that was so adorable. And I told her that everybody who donated, she needed to send a handwritten card for. So she created all her cards. And I felt like that was a wonderful lesson for her to be confident and ask and learn how to ask.
I love that. And also there's so many nonprofits that could just follow this strategy and make 5 figures this week, 100%.
And businesses too. Yeah, for sure.
100%. And one of the things that I think has served me well in life is one of the first times I really had to build my network and build my business, I had to cold call, and building that muscle. And you realize you're not going to die on the other end. And no one was actually ever really mean to me. They just, whatever. But it's what a good lesson, because she's not really cold calling. These are warm prospects. Right.
Sure. Oh,
and she's learning hot leads. She's learning how to refine her pitch. I mean, I think that's something that so many of us, so many entrepreneurs are scared of. So many founders I work with are just, they're scared of working their own network. And usually there's some sort of belief in the way of I'm bothering people, or they don't want, they're not going to be interested in this anyway. And so I love this example of your daughter, and also of you just being I'm just going to invite everybody I know.
Yeah. I mean, if they don't want to do it, it's one email. It's not going to hurt anyone. With hers, it was phone call for people she knew, and they were all thrilled to get her phone call, of course.
100%.
I probably wouldn't have called the 200 people, but just sending them a message, low pressure. I think it's just the one thing about sales that people don't get. It's that people think that they're just going to post content and wait for people to come. The right people show up. Some people tell you this, right? Just keep being authentic and consistent, and the right people are going to show up. Unfortunately, they don't. It's not how it works anymore. Maybe that worked when there was just a few people doing this years ago when social media was very much smaller. It doesn't work anymore right now. And if people don't know that something is going on and that's an option for them, whether it's a nonprofit asking for donations or if it's someone selling a program or whatever, they are not going to be able to get to you. They can't even make a decision, yes or
so
no.
What does work? Yeah. So what's the better way? What's the way?
Okay. So I say that it's an unpopular opinion when it comes to selling, and that'll be the same for fundraising. Quantity is more important than quality. You can spend 2 hours creating this amazing reel to sell something, and you post this video there. You're only going to reach some people. Some people don't watch videos. Some people are not there that day. There's no way you can reach enough people with this amazing quality content. Of course, if you can do both at all times, fantastic, but that's not realistic, I don't think. But people need lots of touches with your offer, whether, again, it's a fundraiser or if it's a product or coaching, whatever that is. Anything you're offering, people need multiple touches with it. But we know that most people don't see our content. I get, people come to me and they're like, no one sees my content. And then I'm like, okay, so talking about selling, they're like, oh, I can't post about my offer again because everybody already saw it. I'm like, no, you have to decide. Everybody sees all your content or no one
or
does.
Which is it?
Which is it? So
somebody in my world mentioned just a few days ago, they mentioned, do you remember the 80-20 rule basically for social media?
Yeah.
So so it's 80% just kind of educational, just,
non-selling.
Yeah.
20%
and then 20% selling. And I was like, oh God, no. We're not doing that unless you want to just go broke. Like, we're not doing that.
Yeah, that's the thing too. It's like, imagine if you're doing that and you post, I don't know how to do math. I'm just going to put myself throw myself under the bus here. But imagine if you're doing 16 posts a month. So that means you're going to do what? Like,
it'd be just like a handful. That's terrible.
Yeah, like you can't, like, people, it takes people a lot. And also they need to know different things about your proposition. Maybe someone, needs to know more about how that money is going to these foundations, or how you take things there, how many people you help, and some other people are just like, oh, this organization is great. Here's more donation. Like, there's different profiles of people when it comes to make a decision, or a purchase decision, or donation decision, that, but they all mostly take multiple. And when I say multiple, imagine, like, it takes, what was it? Like, there's a lot of research on this. I'm not going to cite one specifically because that dates back from the 80s, right? Like that people need multiple touches to make a decision.
I think it was like the rule of 7 is now like the rule of 17 or something. Like, we're so distracted.
Some people would say 7 times or 8 times that it takes to build a lead. It wasn't even to make a sale, to create a lead. And now with social media, it's a lot more than that, because people are, again, super distracted. There's too much they're looking at. It's hard to catch them, So we are not making any sales or making any people make decisions if we just tell them about it once or twice. And the typical Instagram thing to do too is that they do this whole thing, storytelling, and then the last third paragraph, they like, oh, and by the way, I have this, so join my coaching. Yeah. I mean, you lost 80% of the people that saw your post.
That's right.
At that point in time. So I think what works is to talk about what you're offering in several different ways, a lot of the time.
Often.
And stop creating content as if 100% of your audience saw 100% of your posts.
I love this, because we've set up my next question so perfectly. So we've set up, like, we've almost made it sound like, wow, it's really hard to make money on social media. It's really hard to grow and be seen on social media, except for the fact that you've made a lot of money on social media. You have a lot of people in your world too that are thriving.
But here's the thing. I think it's really important to establish that, because I hate being the person who gives, unrealistic expectations. And I think we have that in social media. And I think when you say it's really hard to make money on social media, yes, it is, but it's also really hard to make any business or organization work, right?
Yeah.
Like, most small business people start, what is it? Like 80% doesn't go over the first year.
Yeah.
There's something like that. I'm just making up facts. Please check your facts, guys. I'm just like saying things that I've heard before. But it's somewhere very, very hard. Yeah. Very, very little actually past the first year in business. So it's not something that is on social media, or that is like, because I'm saying this. It's just a reality. I think we have something going on right now, which is at the same time, there's the rise of the coaches and online businesses and advice and social media advice. And all those guys are like, just do this. This is how I did that. But they're not taking into consideration that they're the exception. And there's not a just do this solution for people. So it is hard. And sales or raising money is a numbers game. If you're just, talking to one audience, it's going to be a tiny percent of that audience. I mean, for social, I don't know the numbers for nonprofits. The numbers for sales for like a full-on campaign, like the 8-day campaign that I do. Yeah. Full-on campaign, it's around 1 to less than 1% of sales and the amount of followers you have. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not counting, and I mean, I'm not counting, like, there's lots of variables about this, because it could be that you have an offer that is for a very specific audience. Like, let's say that I am offering something for nonprofits, like a very tiny percentage of my audience is going to be nonprofits. So the numbers are going to be smaller. Or if you have an offer that is not really, it's very specific, like people need to be at this city in this day. You know what I mean? That's right. Yeah. So I like setting the expectations that selling is hard, and that's why you need to do more, not less. Perfect. So that's what we're going to dive into, which is, you talk about being salesy all the time, and you talk about it. You're the only one who talks about it as a good thing. Everybody loves to talk about being salesy as, like, of course, something we want to avoid doing. And I love it, because I'm somebody who loves selling. I love it.
and I learned to love it. Maybe I didn't. I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like
same.
I always kind of loved it. I don't know.
No,
Because
I
I
didn't
never
for
really
sure.
viewed it as icky,
A burden.
squirmy, bad. So tell us everything about why being salesy is good and
Yeah.
all of it. Yeah.
Oh man, I have so much about this. So I think one of the things that, there is this old notion that you shouldn't be selling and it's a shameful thing. I mean, you can argue that for women like us, it's been, centuries of
Mm-hmm.
oppression telling us that we shouldn't talk about money, we should make money, we should make more than a man. There's all sorts of things about a lady doesn't talk about money. So we
Mm-hmm.
have all that ingrained in us, right? For centuries. Then you add to that the fact that the way social media started was for friends and connections. And then business came into social media later on.
That's a good point.
So up to 2016, we didn't have businesses on Instagram, like official business accounts on Instagram, business tools. We had it on Facebook already, but we didn't have it on Instagram. I don't know how much earlier than that Facebook started, to be honest. I should look at those numbers. But I know that 2016 is when business accounts became a thing on Instagram. And before that, everybody just spoke about lifestyle content, right? It was lifestyle and lifestyle. And I know you were in this business already back then. We met in 2017, but I was also working super focused on Instagram for a small business the years before. And everybody just said lifestyle content. And the fact was that people did not like to see graphics and things that are more ad-like on Instagram back then, because Instagram was a photo sharing app and that was all about pretty photos. The people growing like crazy were photographers, professional photographers, because everybody else had bad phone photos with those ugly filters. And then the professional photographers are just like ranking crazy amount of followers, which doesn't happen to them today. They could have the most beautiful photography. Things have changed. So today it has changed a lot, but people are still repeating the 80-20 rule, or that you shouldn't be salesy, that no one wants to see, that you have, the other one, a lot of people that I respect and I think are very smart talk about the selling without selling or soft selling or any. I don't believe in any of that. I mean, to each their own. Of course, I respect other people's opinions and experiences, but also I've seen this girl talk about selling without selling and how she sells out everything. And that's the strategy she uses. She has also almost 1 million followers.
Right.
She doesn't need a lot of people to fill out a retreat.
That is not a replicable strategy for a new business or small business.
And that's what I think. I think there's a lot of inexperienced coaches that they are younger and they just grew on the platforms and they do it. So there's lacking in that kind of advice as well. And then for others, there's just lack of transparency. So that's why. So salesy is good because if you have a business, I mean, let's talk about a nonprofit. You have a nonprofit, you're literally helping something. People, the environment, animals, like you're helping something. You can help someone if you don't, or you can help anything if you don't raise money, if you're not salesy.
That's right.
You can have the best idea. And then also, like I tell people that I have small business and entrepreneurs, I'm like, imagine if that coach that changed your business was not salesy. Because we're buying from the people that send us 30 emails.
That's right.
Per course launch, you know? And we're not complaining about them. We're like actually saying praise for them. But then when it comes to each other and the smaller guys, we're just like, no, let's not do that. Let's not be salesy. You're literally doing your audience a disservice, or even if you're a nonprofit, you're doing the world a disservice if you're not salesy. And that's why I think it's so important to learn how to do it and be confident about it. And then I think the other side is too that there is a lot of, I actually did a reel about that last night, which there's a lot of people doing toxic selling and some of them don't even realize it. And I'm really big on like ethics. And so some of the things I was talking about, it's like, for examples of those things, one is like when you get that, and that's what we learn. And you're going to agree with me when I tell you this, because that's what people tell us to do. You get your best testimonial. And I've done that in the past too, and say, get these results too. And it's a girl saying like, oh, I used one of your templates and I got a $2,000 contract. And I'm like, get these results too. No, most people are not going to get these results with one post from one of my templates. It's not a typical result. You know what I mean? And that actually here in the US is against the law. That's false advertisement because the FTC, I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice, my disclaimer, but the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC considers all social content for a brand as advertisement. So
interesting.
Yeah, you cannot do false advertisement, and that's false advertisement. And people don't realize that because the gurus are telling them to put your 3 biggest,
right.
And you don't think behind it. And you're like, get this real. It's just, I've been like, so on the other side, like kind of careful about my call to action. So even like from years before, I'm sure I did the same thing because that's what I was taught or whatever. And then, I'm just like, sometimes I get when I'm revising the emails before they go out or whatever. And I'm like, oh, I'll get these results for you too. And I'm like, join the club, like just change it to something like,
yes.
And I always make a point to say, even if I do, so maybe let's say that I do I got $2,000 contract, blah, blah, blah. And I can say, this is an excellent result, but it's not typical. And what's typical is that most people save time and they're happier with their content. And, it's like you say what is realistic to people. And that's plenty of reason. So I think also selling gets a bad name because there's so many people to the other side. Point. I made a big list about things that I think you shouldn't do. It's not like people can do whatever they want. I think are a little toxic and that we don't realize. And sometimes we think you're helping. I think several installments to buy a program or something, to me, it's toxic because I know we're like, let's have people be able to afford it.
Yep.
But if they don't have that money, should that be where they spend the money, even if it's installments? You know what I mean? I don't have a problem like 2 or 3, but it's like buy this course in like 12 installments. And I'm like,
that's hard. I hear you. I'm somebody who has installments, a small installment plan for one of my courses, but I think what you're talking about too is when it ends up also being a higher ticket program. And I've seen it before and I haven't done this because it has never felt right, where you're paying installments after access is over, after it's done. And I'm like, like, I'm not sure about that.
I think anything that makes it too easy for people to buy, I don't love it because I much rather less people buy, but there are the people that read through it.
People. Yep.
They're the right people. And the same to me goes with money guarantee, money back guarantees. I do not like that for courses. I think that makes more people buy without thinking. No one asks for the money back guarantee. And honestly, as a business owner, if people come to you and tell a legit story that something happened to them, they weren't able to use, they changed careers, they lost they're fired, whatever it was, you can still give them their money back if you want to. It's not because you didn't say it's a guarantee. You know what I mean? Yeah. So to me, that's one of the things that just make people that shouldn't afford, is not right for your program or whatever, to buy. So to me, those are things that keep it. That's when the sales gets pushy and it gets toxic in my, my words here.
I love that. I had Tarzan K on here, and that's something that she's done.
Love her. Yeah.
And she stopped selling.
She talked about it.
Yeah. Stop saying I got X amount of results from the, it's too much, it was one person's results. And so I think we see a lot of times too, and I think this will weave into my next question, which is we see a lot of people who have amazing results from their social campaigns, but we don't see they've got a pretty good email list happening, right?
Yes, exactly.
And so and so let's talk about that relationship for a second between social media and email, because you are somebody, I'm on your list. I know when you're having a campaign to launch something. Oh yeah. Because it's online. I see it on social, but I'm also getting your emails. And I love the way they work together. And so talk to me about the importance.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So emails are more effective to sell or to raise money. I mean, first of all, people are not distracted looking. I mean, they might be slightly distracted in their Gmail inbox or whatever, but they're not nearly as distracted as they are watching videos on social. And the other thing is that if your email gets delivered, some don't, and some go to spam. But for the most part, a much bigger percentage of the people you send an email to sees it, at least the subject, in your name in the subject line, because it's in their inbox. And when it's social, if you miss it, you miss it, So emails are more effective. Also, like if you're talking about social posts or reels, like reels are hard to read the caption. Social posts, the caption, you have to send people to the link in your bio so they get out of which stories is better for that, but you have to do several because they go away. But, the link is right there, and that's helpful for email as well. You also have a format that allows you to give a little bit more information. I actually thought that my sales emails are getting a little too long. So I started like getting them a little shorter just because I have all that information that people need on my sales page. I make sure that I have it all there. But emails, they convert like 3 to 6 times more than social media does for a similar campaign, like a daily, like the format that we do, the campaign that we sell as well, it's the day campaign. It has an email and it has a social components. Like there's like all the templates for Instagram, the captions, everything, and the formats, right? Like you do 2 posts the day that your early bird ends, and then you do 2 posts the last day or whatever, 1 post each day, and then a story and blah, blah, blah. So it has all the things that you need when you need it, blah, blah, blah. So if you compare the two, they are working together. So when I do my campaigns, for example, I can't say, this many bought because they click on the email link. I would know this, right? But I don't know how many of them have seen 3 of my posts about it, and the email was the last touch to make the decision.
I mean, how many times have I opened my app and I'm like, crap, the deadline. Then I go over to my email, find the link, boom, the sale. So they really work nicely together. Do you advise your members to use social to help build their email list or to make sure that
absolutely. I actually just sent out today to your template club a little sequence of stories that got me a lot of like email subscribers last week.
Nice.
I mean, the typical thing, you can do several things, to grow your email list with using social, but the freebies still work well. I would say like people are getting a little tired of like just downloading a PDF list of something. So if you can think outside the box a little more, or even it could be a list or a checklist, but it should be something that gives people a little more what they need. And if you're talking business to business, like small business owners and stuff, and that's your target, you should even be more thoughtful about that they don't have much time. So if you do a little bit of the work for them, that freebie, even better. And obviously to be something that is shows them the experience of working with you, right? Whatever it is that you sell, whether it's a course or digital products or products, it helps them have that experience about like what it feels like. That's how you generate leads. But like I've been using social for growing my email list from the get-go. I can do better. I was super excited because this month I got, I think so far, like 2,100 new email subscribers. And I'm like, I never get this many. Like I've been
my head is on the desk. That's amazing. Well, and that is, let's just pause for a second. That's organic from your social. Yes. This is not through an ad.
But again, no ads. But again, I have a big organic audience that I've built throughout the 6 years.
But that, like, I'm excited because that speaks to the power of how they work together.
Oh, absolutely. So, I mean, and that's the thing. I think it's not realistic to tell everybody to have 100,000 followers. It's not that easy. It's not for everyone. Like some of my favorite product brands, I don't follow them on Instagram. You know what I mean? So
that's a good point. And that's okay.
Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But the more people you have, especially if you're not doing ads, I haven't been super successful with ads, even though I worked with agencies and stuff. I don't know. We do a little bit here and there or for specific events. But I had a lot of success just growing side by side my email list and Instagram. And then from Instagram, pushing to the email list and freebies. Like I think people just work really hard on a freebie for 6 months. And then that's all they have, this one freebie. I do a lot of like little ones, and also like for people who are coaches. I know you have some of those in your audience and who have programs. Get a tiny lesson, like one tiny bullet point list from your course that is helpful, and make that into your freebie. I think people are just overthinking, and then you just don't create enough because if you're always promoting the same freebie, either people already got it and then they get out of your email list years later, or the people that are not interested don't have another option, right? So I think just the freebies still work. I mean, my biggest thing to grow my email list in the past 2 years was a virtual conference. I'm not going to recommend people should do that to grow their email list because the investment is huge.
Those are a beast.
Oh yeah. No, it's crazy. Actually, this year that I had some health issues that I had to deal with for months. I don't even know if I'm going to do one. I'm going to do something similar, but that was like a big one. But also, I worked with influencers for that one, so they're promoting it. I think another thing that, I'm going to start doing now that I haven't been doing it well in the past is that I have affiliates that wouldn't apply for, it would apply for nonprofits, but it would not apply in the same way that they're selling.
This is like sponsors. These are those, sometimes we call them digital ambassadors. This is just these partnerships where you get to have an aligned audience the way that we would with as an affiliate, and get it visible in front of somebody else's audience and get in that third party endorsement. That is something like so many organizations aren't doing. And so many solopreneurs. Go ahead.
Yes. So what I'm starting to do more now is getting the links to all my freebies to my affiliates, because I think I'm more equipped to sell what I sell to people than my affiliates are.
Yeah.
Like I know it better. I know the details. I know the questions people ask and all that. So if my affiliates get them in my email list, they'll still make a commission up to like 6 months when they buy, and when they buy anything else.
Yeah.
But they're not selling anything, and they're just saying, hey, download this guide that helped me on this, or download this free class or whatever. And that gets you a lot more results for me in the past, even like when I'm paying influencers for this, than it is when they just do an ad to sell something.
Yeah.
So even for nonprofits, I think it would be a lot better if the nonprofit had the ambassadors help, like even like maybe have download a guide or something like that, or something interesting about that, and get them in their email list, and they can
nurture them over there.
Nurture them and convert.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that idea of like, and also it's less legwork, because I work with affiliates too. And it's like, it's so much easier for me to say, hey, if I know I'm doing a live lunch, I'll just give them the webinar. And I'm like, anyone that opts in for the webinar. Yes. And it's like, I realize
and it's easier for them too.
It's so much easier for them.
Yeah. And I'm someone who has a big like calendar. Like my calendar is always like busy or whatever. So it's hard for me to fit in another promotion for something, but it's pretty easy for me to say, hey, download this free guide of something, you know?
So how often are you selling something? How often are you in a campaign?
I start itching if I'm not selling anything. If my posts feel like finish with like this, if you agree, I'm like, where is my selling?
Yeah.
So, but again, like I wasn't born this way. Like it took me a lot of work to.
You built the muscle
mindset and build the muscle and get used to it and see how people are happy with this stuff. I think it's like if you work on their offer and you're happy with it and you're happy with the work you do as a nonprofit, like you're not afraid of selling, right? You're not afraid of asking, because you know that there's a quality there. You know, you're making an impact, you know, you're helping people, you know, I mean, even if you're selling a dress, you're making people happy, you know,
100%.
Because they feel good on that dress, whatever that is. So I think just focusing on, I think some people, small businesses, a lot of times, digital business, they get so wrapped up on doing so much on social, so much in their marketing and engaging with hashtags for an hour a day, and they forget to work on the offer or getting actual experience, improve themselves in the service they offer. So I think if people are putting a little more effort here, they'll feel a lot more comfortable selling. I have campaigns, like big 8-day campaigns every month, maybe. You know, sometimes like month and a half. When it's a month and a half, I usually put a mini campaign in there in the middle. Then I have a couple of affiliate campaigns, but they'll fall into the same category if I'm doing a full campaign or a mini. So yeah, every month I'm selling something for sure. And then if you think of the nitty gritty of my contents, like today, I actually didn't have a post for today. So I just did this reel with one of my templates in the morning. And I say, I use this pack of templates, go browse our templates on the link in bio or whatever. So it was like one little post that had a call to action if people wanted it, you know. It wasn't part of a big plan or a campaign or anything. So
one of the things I always try and just what is the word, like impress on my clients and students is this idea of like a graph of like literally the more you ask, like the more offers you make, the more outreach, literally the more money you make. Like, and yes, people will fall off that are in a fit for you, but the lines follow each other. And I guess that's, I think, something that a lot of people will hear from you and get inspired from you in this conversation. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I say that, you know, if you post once or twice, you may expect a sale or two. You know, our business would not survive with a sale or two per month. And then the other thing is, if you get people to buy from you, your repeat customers, I believe, buy like 67% more than a new customer.
Yes. Like, we talk about this.
Huge difference.
Yes, it is so much easier. So translation for the donor for my nonprofits, go
Mhm.
to a donor that donated once. They're
Exactly. Much more likely to donate again.
yes, and instead the mindset is usually something like, I don't want to tire
They
them
already
out. I don't
donated.
want
Yeah.
to email them again. Lots of things like that. And I'm just like, no, this is the best time to create
They're
a
the person
long-term relationship, right?
for sure.
Okay. So I'm going to give you two more questions and then we
Sure.
will wrap up. What do you feel like, and maybe we've already talked about it, but what comes to mind is the like thing that so many founders, solopreneurs, and nonprofits are just missing in their social strategy? So we kind of talked about the before when it was all beautiful pictures. I remember those days. And then it's evolved a ton to where it is now. Like, what is the average person, especially somebody who's really coming into your world and is like, oh, wow, like, what are they missing?
Yeah. So I think a couple of things. One is the people that are just still doing only photos on their feeds are missing out. And I understand some influencers, they don't want to do graphics. I think some of the brands that work with them want the feed to be just beautiful photography. It's a decision they have to make because also they're going to have less brands if they don't get as many clicks, right?
Yeah.
But we're also making decisions based on different aspects. But for brands and nonprofits, like what are they're missing is really having text on their image, because just a photo does not work anymore. I've been saying this since 19. I found my post in 2019 saying all photo feeds don't work anymore on Instagram.
Yeah.
As Instagram started growing and growing and growing, people are scrolling. They're not going to stop to read your caption unless your hook or your lead got their attention and they are interested in that topic. So, of course, in Reels, people sometimes are speaking. You definitely have to have your captions there and all that stuff. And even a Reel or in a story, if you start talking and the topic is not on top and you wait to get to that topic, people might not watch. So I think people are missing on hooks and leads effectively. I think they're missing on good graphic design. I really do. I mean, it's what I offer, but people are missing out on graphic design. And there's a reason why we dove into Canva templates for everyone, because what's happening right now is with tools that are amazing, like Canva, for example, more people who are not graphic designers, who have no idea of graphics, are doing their own graphics, which is fine, except you can read their stuff on Instagram. It's tiny. There's no contrast between colors.
This accessibility sucks. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
So if there's no contrast, if people have to squint to look at your colors, if people can't read what you wrote, if you have way too much text, there's zero engagement. And then that's when we get upset about the algorithm. But it's really the design of your posts.
And secret, which is if you go to my feed right now, I would say a bulk of them are from you or from your templates. And my favorite thing to do is go, I don't know what to post today. And then I just go find a template. And it's so crazy how the template inspires the post, if that makes sense.
Well, because it has the text already.
It gives you the lead. Yeah. So you're great at that. And
Thank you. I mean, that's what I do for my content too.
Yes.
I'm like, today I was like, I don't know what to post. I just got one of my templates and posted.
Yeah. So the last question I'll ask you, and then we'll talk about getting in touch. Every guest that comes on here, I like to ask you, what is a thought you like to think on purpose? Because I do believe entrepreneurship is strategy, but the hardest part is the mindset piece. And so I would love to hear from you. It could be a mantra, an affirmation, or just a belief that you have that helps guide you.
Yeah, I talk a lot about mindset. And I think one of the things is that we need to tame our expectations. I think that's the biggest thing right now, because if a post doesn't do well today, I get upset. I'm like, oh, my content sucks. I suck. My picture is ugly, whatever it is that, I want to say to myself. And then I'll do it again tomorrow. And shouldn't we get used to that? That's the norm, that amount of engagement is the normal amount of engagement that everybody's having, because we're doing this collectively. It's not me, Manu, or you, Christina, or someone else.
Yep.
Everybody's doing this. Everybody's upset about how much engagement they get on Instagram. Everybody's upset in other social and even email opens and all that. Like, people are doing this more and more, especially in the small business community. Or I'm sure it's the same with nonprofits. Like, they're learning to do their marketing more. So there's more things hitting people. So we're all going to get less. It's the marketing pie. This is not new. I don't know why when it comes to social, people get mad about the algorithm. It's the marketing pie. You're in a platform that has 4 people. Each of you get a quarter of the pie. You have a platform that has 4 billion people. You had a very sad Thanksgiving. I think I always tell people that if you're unhappy with your Instagram numbers and engagement, go back to last month's numbers, and that's your new benchmark. Last month's numbers is your new benchmark, because you're missing on a bunch of like successes and wins because you're expecting something completely unrealistic that some guru told you, or that you did 2 years ago when Instagram was much quieter,
Okay. So have you read the Gap and the Gain? Do you know that book?
No, I don't know that.
Okay. So short version is they say we get mad when we're looking ahead, always measure backwards, A and B.
Yeah.
So that's what you just said is like, look at last month. That is your benchmark. Right?
Because we have, last month is the closest to this month possible.
That's right.
Looking at 5 years ago. Or something we never achieved before.
Or a fictitious thing in the future
someone told you. So that's a really, really big one. Yeah. And the other one is just do the post, do the damn post,
Thank you. Amen. That's it. Get it.
Just do it, because we're wasting so much time, especially when it comes to social. We're wasting so much time obsessing. When I see people doing the post of the day every day, I'm like, you're wasting an hour thinking of what to post in the morning, then writing, and then everything just becomes this thing, right? That it's hard to do, and then the more time you put in it, the more stress you put in it, right? The more expectations, the more. So just do the post. Tomorrow there's another one. Just try things out. And I think the best people that I have, some people using my templates that are not like so, in the like marketing expert. I have a lot of people who are marketing and social experts, so they know how to do it. Some people are like, sometimes they use the templates a little off, and there's like a little black bar on top and bottom or whatever, something that doesn't quite fit. And I swear to you that I always do a happy dance when I see them post, because they're not overthinking it.
Get in the arena.
Absolutely going to get better as they go. But, if you just stay there and try to be perfect each time, your growth is going to be much slower, because you're not going to let yourself improve.
Oh, that was so good. Okay. Tell us about the Smarter Social Club. Who it's for.
So the Smarter Social Club is one of the things that I look at how my audience changed. We're talking about seeing how the landscape changed on social or whatever. I also look at the needs of my audience change. I had a regular membership, that I had since like 2018. There was like a class per week for, social media, class per week for small businesses, and advice on the Facebook group and whatever. And it was much more expensive. So I actually revamped everything maybe a year ago. And because I have so much experience, I am really good about giving feedback and giving ideas and giving strategies and giving things to try and troubleshoot strategy and things like that. So now the membership is just focused on that. You ask me in the group, I'll tell you things that are right for you, not for everybody. We talk back and forth as many times you want. It's only $17 a month. You can cancel anytime. And then if I think you need a bigger program or you need to invest in somewhat or two, I can advise you as well. It's like a low price point thing. So you have like an expert in your pocket.
I love it. It's like, if you're wondering, how often should I post for this campaign? Why isn't anyone interacting with this content? What about this post? Can you give me feedback? These are all the questions that you can answer. It's perfect and also I think that you're my go-to. So I'm like, what's happening on socials right now? You're my go-to. So it's like, I heard this thing. Is this true? I know that's another one we say, and you'll be like, it's not true. It is true. So it's great for all things social.
I get so many of oh my gosh. Oh, but this person did this. I mean, yes, there's always going to have contradicting information.
Yes.
I think, use your filters, use your, what you have, your experience, but this is my position. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for today. This was
Thank you. This was fun. It went by really fast.
Taking the pants that people needed to go take some action and show up online.
People get pumped and be more confident and remember that they're the only ones seeing all the content they post.
Oh, perfect takeaway. Thanks, Manu.
Thank you.
If you ask me, everyone should have a coach, especially you. I want to invite you to schedule a free discovery call with me. Go to splendidatl.com/contact. You'll see my calendar there. Book a call with me. You'll learn about my smart growth method where we can grow your business or organization sustainably with ease and massive impact. Think you've reached out to everyone in your network? Are you out of ideas to get noticed and get funded? I hear you. That's why I'm giving you a chance to steal my prospect list. Yes, you can generate leads for your nonprofit or impact-driven business. Grab my mini training and list delivered to your inbox instantly. Go to splendidcourses.com/prospect.